like that. Run around talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap peeled like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. When you ain't built like that. You niggas ain't built like that. You was never on the block, you ain't never dodge a knock. You ain't never fought another crew holding down the park. You ain't swam with the sharks, you ain't wrestled with the gators. You was never fucking popping, you ain't got no fucking haters. Bitch niggas like you make me watch out for the traitors. When you round some real niggas, mind your behavior. I will beat a nigga ass, then I'm laughing like I'm Jada. Get your fucking mind blown like a cartridge on a Sega. You niggas want attention, they don't want the war though. Talking all that shit, but you got a glass jaw. Ho, they never deliver. They got that DiGiorno. This that Walking Dead flow. I eat a rapper torso. You ain't the same man when you off the microphone. You ain't never broke a bone. You ain't never had a scar. You a certified pussy, so don't make me pull your card. I'm a certified prophet, respected like the word of God. Cause you ain't got the heart, nigga. You ain't got the heart. You ain't about to finish any beef that you start. You ain't never been a soldier, little nigga. Play your part. Claiming that you spark when you ain't got the heart. Cause you niggas ain't built like that. Run around talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap peeled like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. When you ain't built like that. Run around talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap peeled like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. All my niggas ride for me. All my niggas ride with me. I got niggas that'll die for me. All my niggas ride with me. You niggas ain't.
Yeah, shalom, shalom, shalom Israel. Shalom to all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Shalom to all the brothers. Yahweh Shem Shabrak. To all the sisters. Yahweh Shema Lathab Shem Shai. I'm priest and officer of 50 Shar Yawan under commanding General YAHANNA. And we are the I.S.U.P.K, which was established in 1969. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And tonight is Wednesday's night law class. Salakia for the time. To our brothers and sisters in the school. We're having a couple technical difficulties. To anybody tuning in watching for the first time, it's all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that are living in Canada, from the West Coast to the East Coast. You understand? This class is for you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Tonight is Wednesday's night law class. You understand? Wednesday's night law class. And this class is all about giving us the tools to get out of the condition that we're in today. You understand? So I got an article that I'm going to share. All right, we got an article I'm going to share. Tonight's topic is basically the Christian church has been lying to our people for too long. You understand? Especially a lot of these black Christian churches that are over here in Canada, teaching us to integrate, teaching us God loves everybody, teaching us people's purpose in life and what life's about. The Christian church has been lying to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians for years. You understand? The Christian church has not been giving the tools or the truth of the Bible. You understand? Your Christian pastor has been speaking lies, and the I.S.U.P.K is here to tear down those lies. All right? We should not be listening to our Christian pastors. We should be listening to what the words of God are. We should be listening to the words of the Bible. Understand? And I'm going to prove today that your Christian pastor has been lying to you. You understand? Been lying to us about a lot of things. So this article that I'm going to share is about the first black church that was in Toronto. All right, it's called the FBC, the First Baptist Church. Let me just share my screen. And this topic today isn't just about the lies that the Christian church has been teaching, but it's about the character of the Most High. It's about the character of God. You understand? The Most High is a man of war. Life is about war. Everything is about war. You understand? And I'm going to show that in the scriptures today. So this article, let me see if it's, let me zoom in a bit. So this is, Slack, I shouldn't say it's so much of an article, but this is an introduction of the First Baptist Church that was established in Toronto. And this is their main web page. This is the first thing you see when you open their page. And the reason I specifically picked this church is because in Canada, we have a lot of First Baptist churches all throughout Canada. In Saskatchewan, in Edmonton, in Ottawa, in Nova Scotia, Halifax. When some of the slaves that migrated north, they migrated, some of them running from slavery, and they found themselves here in Canada. These were some of the founders of some of these churches. And if you go into a church today in Canada, you'll see it's one of the most segregated places in Canada. You understand? Other than Native Indians being forced on reserves, you understand? Pushed to some of the worst lands here in Canada, pushed off their land and forced into these small locations. The church is another place of segregation, right? And what's funny is a lot of people don't necessarily see something wrong with that. You understand? You're Jamaican in Canada, Haitian in Canada. You grew up here, Trinidadian. You grew up in Canada or near Toronto. A lot of us, we were just looking for a black church, a place that had our music, a place that had our pastors and ministers. Understand? A place that we could identify ourselves and relate to people in the church. And so typically you find a lot of segregation in the church, which is actually a beautiful thing in the Most High's eyes. It's a very beautiful thing. Right? In the book of Deuteronomy, it says that the children of Israel are a separate people, a holy people. You understand? Holy being separate, different, set apart. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we are not like everybody else. We are holy. We are different from everybody else. Right? And segregation is a beautiful thing in the Most High's eyes. You understand? The Most High, in I think it's Genesis chapter 18, the Most High divided the nations. He separated the nations. And he set boundaries and borders in the lands that they would dwell. You understand? Integration is a very evil thing in the Most High's eyes. The Most High is all about being holy, different, set apart. You understand? Letting our light shine amongst men. Being seen as different, not unifying with everybody. Right? That whole idea of unity and integration is very evil in the eyes of the Most High. Right? And we combat that by going to war. So I'm gonna go ahead and read what this First Baptist Church is about. And it says, this is the first thing. It says who we are, right? This is the First Baptist Church in Toronto. They say, we are a church that welcomes all people to worship and serve with us. You will find joyful praise, warm fellowship, and relevant teaching and ministry. Our doors remain wide open to everyone, and our hearts are exposed to whomever is seeking the love of God. You are always welcome. And then it gets into their history. And it says, the First Baptist Church, a journey in courage, founded in 1826. The First Baptist Church has a distinction of being both the very first Baptist church and the oldest Black institution in the city of Toronto. The birth of the First Baptist is indicative of the history of African Canadians in the 19th century. From the 1820s onward, Toronto became a thriving commercial center where jobs were available and a major haven for fugitive slaves, given that it was easily accessible by land and water, yet far enough from the African borders to give fugitive greater safety from pursuing masters. So this church was established by what they call the African Canadians, right? And these people were calling themselves, or they call themselves today, African Canadian because they have no knowledge of self, right? They don't understand their identity. They don't understand that they descend from a man. They have a family tree, a lineage, right? According to the Bible, you are who your father is. That's how you identify who you are, what nation of people you come from. And Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we descend from a man named Jacob. We descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who was later called Israel. Right? These Blacks that they call themselves African Canadian, these Blacks, they were the children of Israel, according to the Bible. And you go and ask a Christian today, you ask your Christian pastor or somebody in the congregation, what is your nationality? More than likely, they're going to tell you, I'm a child of God, or my nationality is Christian. You understand? They don't understand that they have no knowledge of who they are. They don't know what nation they descend from, right? If you were to ask a white Christian what nationality they are, they're going to tell you they're European, they're German, they're Polish, they're Russian, they're Spanish, they're Greek, they're Roman. You understand? They understand what nationality they are. But Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we have no knowledge of self. We don't know our identity. We don't know who we are. So we refer to ourselves as bywords. We call ourselves Black. We call ourselves Negro. We call ourselves African. African American, African Canadian. Right? Today there's a movement to calling us melanin, people of the earth, or the original people of the earth. Right? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have no idea where they come from, who they descend from. And this church, like every other church, doesn't teach the truth of the Bible. Right? So it says, and that last part says, yet far enough from the American border to give fugitives greater safety from pursuing masters. So these Israelites were running from the south. They were running from their masters. Right? And Toronto was a place that was easily accessible by land and water. It was a place that they could find refuge, and they were able to travel from their slave masters. They were able to run from their slave masters and travel to this place called Toronto. And this is where the church was founded. So it goes on to say, the church was founded by fugitive slaves who were drawn to Upper Canada by the promise of freedom. Like many that came to Canada, the following members came with little more than their religious faith and their belief in the doctrine of the promised land, a paradise where they would find freedom from their earthly misery and bondage. Which is interesting, because their founding members, they had a belief that there was a promised land. Right? This is back in, what was that date? In the 1820s. In the 1820s, these Israelites that were running from their slave master, they had a belief that there was a promised land, a paradise where they would find freedom from their earthly misery and bondage. And that's beautiful, because heaven is a place on earth. Right? They understood that they had misery. They had an earthly misery and bondage. They were living in hell, and they were trying to escape hell. You understand? They were looking for a promised land where they could be free from their slave masters. You understand? And that's exactly what this Bible is about. This book is all about the children of Israel being free, the children of Israel being in rulership. You understand? The children of Israel being representatives of the Most High here on earth, and establishing morality, establishing rules. You understand? Establishing authority and showing the world how we're to live, how we're to treat each other and treat this earth. All right. And it goes on to read, and so it was that 8 years before the abolition of slavery in the British Empire, 12 slaves from the southern U.S. made their way via the Underground Railroad to become the first members of First Baptist Church. When they first arrived, the group was numerous or prosperous enough to support their own church. So they tried to attend existing white churches. Now check this. When they first arrived, they weren't enough to open their own church, right? And so they found that they were required to meet 2 conditions for membership, right? These slaves came north. They didn't have enough numbers to start their own church, so they tried to attend existing white churches that were here in Toronto. And as they did that, they found out that these white churches weren't so open to them coming in. And they left these slaves two conditions for membership. They said that these slaves needed to produce letters of dismissal from their old churches and repay their former masters the loss of money sustained because of the escape from slavery. So these members in these white churches basically said, you're not coming in here. Right? And so these slaves, or runaway slaves, or these now so-called free men, say that they were shocked by the responses of the white churches to their request. The group realized that they would not be joining those congregations, and under the leadership of Elder Washington Christian, himself a former slave and native of Virginia, who had a call to serve among the refugee former slaves, organized the group into a Baptist congregation in 1826. Now, even just reading that doesn't sound right. Why would slaves who migrated or ran from their slave masters from the South came north, and they're all of a sudden shocked that white churches weren't going to accept them? That doesn't make no sense to me. Slack, yeah, I hear I'm having some technical difficulties. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shabbat.
Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shabbat.
Hey, Salaki, Priest, can you hear me okay?
All right, I can hear you, but it sounds a bit distorted.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're underwater.
Salaki, one sec.
That's it.
Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
That's much better now. It's working better.
Okay, Most High in Christ. Salakia. So we're just going to finish out this article. Where was I? So we left off saying that these slaves, they were shocked by the response of the white churches to their request, which I was saying that sounds a little odd that these Israelites, these slaves, ran from slave owners in the South. It sounds a little surprising that they would be shocked that these white churches wouldn't accept them. You understand? And so it goes on to read, in the beginning, they worshipped in each other's homes and sometimes out of doors, but in 1827, they were able to lease St. George Masonic Lodge for Sunday services. From 1834 to 1841, the services were held in a schoolhouse in Richmond Street. You keep going, and it says, in 1841, the congregation built a small church at the corner of Queen and Victoria Street. and worshiped there until 1905, after which the property was sold and a new church erected at the North Street corner of University and Edward Street. The members worshiped there until the sale of the building in 1955 and the completion of the present building located at Huron and Darcy Street. And so ending out, it says, we are a membership that welcomes and invites all races and nationalities to worship with us. And though proud of our origin, pray that we are never guilty of the behavior that forced our founding members to seek a separate religious institution in which to worship. Now, the only reason that this church would make a statement like that is because they don't understand the Bible. You understand? So, Salaki, 1 second. Salakia. So I was saying that the only reason this church would say something like that is because they don't understand the Bible, right? They don't understand who Esau is in the Bible. They don't understand that they're a descendant of Jacob in the Bible, and that these two nations would be warring against each other from the beginning of time, right? The Most High is all about war. You understand? And the nation that Israel is at war with is the Edomites, is the so-called white man. You understand? That's the way the Most High created this earth. That's the way the Most High created these nations. One of these nations was for a vessel of honor. You're Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian. You were created as a vessel of honor. You understand? And that nation of Edom was created as a vessel of dishonor. You understand? And we're going to get into those scriptures a little later. And so closing out, it says, when we sing the hymn, we've come this far by faith, we are acknowledging the sacrifices made by our forefathers. Those courageous men and women who prayed and worked diligently to ensure that their children and their children's children would be assured of a safe and welcoming place to worship in Toronto. You understand? I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to show you as clear as day that it is so important not to listen to your Christian pastor. And it is so important to listen to the words of the Bible.
Correct.
Right? Because these Christian pastors have been lying on the Bible. They don't teach the truth of the Bible. They don't understand the Bible. They never have, and they never will.
Yep.
Understand? But we in the I.S.U.P.K, we are teaching the truth of the Bible. You understand? The Most High, He is not a God of all love. The Most High is a God of war.
That's right.
You understand? He is all about warfare. He is all about separation. You understand? He's all about being separate and holy. And this is how He created this creation. You understand? Everything on creation is at war with something. Right? And so let's jump right into these scriptures. Slaki Officer Urad, you okay to read?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's get it.
Let's jump to the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3.
Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3, and it reads,
Salakia, can you hear me?
Kana,
Oh, come on. Most High in Christ. Let's jump to Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3.
Kana, can you hear me? Salakia, can you hear me? Salakia. This is the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3, and it reads, the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name.
Khan, go ahead. Exodus 15 and verse 3.
Kana. This is the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3. And
Khan, I
reads,
can hear you.
can you hear me? Salaki, I think, excuse us, I think we're having some technical difficulties with the connection. I'm gonna leave the screen and return in a moment. Salaki, just to see if that'll work.
Khan.
Salaki, can you hear me?
Drop that. Grab Psalms 120 and verse 7. Right? Exodus 15 and 3 says, the Lord is a man of war. You understand? The God of heaven and earth is all about war. Oh, Salakia. Just having some technical difficulties. Salakia for that. The water for being patient. Salakia, Officer Iraq, can you hear me okay?
Con, I can hear you good.
Okay, Most High in Christ. Let's try to get through these scriptures. Slakia, can we jump to the book of Psalms, chapter 120 and verse 7?
Con,
And where we left off was in Exodus 15 and 3, it says, the Lord is a man of war, right? Yahweh is his name. Yahweh in the Hebrew. The God of heaven and earth is all about war, right? That's what he's about. And you can fight against the will of the Most High if you want. You might want peace. You might not want war. You might want God to be all about love. But that's just not his character. That's not who he is. You understand? He is a man of war. So let's jump to Psalms chapter 120 and verse 7.
Con, and it reads, like Psalms 120 and verse 7. I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war.
Read that again.
Con, I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. Can you hear me?
God. Hey, we got to understand that these other nations, they are for war. The oppressor is for war. That European man, the so-called white man, he is for war. Right? And you see it today that when Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians put their hands up and say, don't shoot, they shoot. You understand? They are for war. Right? Let's jump to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 8.
So like Ecclesiastes.
Come on. Salaki, can you hear me, officer?
Con, I can hear you.
Okay, come. Let's jump to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 8.
Con.
You understand? These other nations, they are for war. Right? They're all about war. We throw our hands up and say, don't shoot, they shoot. Right? You look at the history that we've been over here for over 400 years. You look at how many countries that this oppressor has gone around and colonized. He's damn near colonized most of the earth. Some 130 plus countries. You understand? This European man, he is all about war. Right? That's a blessing he was given. You understand? And he walks around this earth and we know him by his character, by his mannerisms. He is a man of war. Right? Go ahead and read Ecclesiastes when you got it.
Here's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 8. It reads, a time to love and a time to hate.
Khan, there's a time to love and a time to hate. Right? Your Christian pastor is not going to tell you that there's a time to hate. You understand? That's a lie straight from the devil himself. Right? The Most High is a God of war. Right? The Most High is a God of balance. You understand? When you just look at his creation and how everything works, there's a time and a season for everything. You understand? He created cold, he created hot, right? He created balance. He created peace, he created war. He created love, he created hate. Right? Keep reading.
A time of war and a time of peace.
God, there's a time for war. In 2021, it is a time for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to go to war. Right? When you see a black man kill another black man, when you see a Hispanic man kill another Hispanic man, that is a crime. You understand? But when you see a so-called white man kill a Hispanic man, that is an act of war. Right? That is a time for war. And that's what's been going on for over 400 years now. Right? Let's jump to Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 2. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 2.
Isaiah chapter 40, verse 2. And it reads, Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished,
God.
that her iniquity is pardoned.
God, this is speaking to the children of Israel, right? This is saying that her warfare is accomplished, meaning there is a war that needs to be accomplished. There is a war that needs to come to an end. There's a war that needs a victory, a war to be won. That's what it means to be accomplished. You understand? And the war that needs to be won is against iniquity. Keep reading.
That her iniquity is pardoned, for she had received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins.
God. These are the nations, they want us to sin, right? These other nations want Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to stay in the condition that they're in, right? Because they understand that if Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians wake up to who they are, they would understand that if they were to stop sinning, this war would be won. This war against iniquity.
Right.
Right? That's why Revelations 18 and 4 says, this place is called Babylon, and it's the house of every weak, wicked, and foul spirit. Because when you live in America, when you live in Babylon, this is a place that teaches you to commit every sin known to man. This is a place that teaches you to go against the Most High Power. And that's exactly how these other nations win the war against us. All right? Let's jump to 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4.
2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 10, and it reads, For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, through the pulling down of strongholds.
God. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Right? Meaning we don't got to pick up swords and guns and bombs to win this war. Right? Like Isaiah 40:2 said, this is a war against iniquity. Right? This is a spiritual battle. And not a spiritual battle like the Christian church would teach you, where you're fighting against some ghosts and yelling at, screaming at ghosts. But this is an actual battle against yourself. This is a war against yourself, to fight against your flesh, to overcome sin, to overcome all the temptations and desires of your mind. Right? And our weapons of our warfare is this word. Our weapons of warfare is this truth. Right? Read that again, Baba Kasha.
2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4, and it reads, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, but mighty through, yes, God, to the pulling down of strongholds."
God. But mighty through God, meaning the only way to win this war is to go through God, is to go through the Most High. Meaning we got to do exactly what the Most High tells us to do. The Most High tells us not to celebrate Christmas. We can't be celebrating Christmas because we got to go through God. We got to do it His way. The Most High requires us to be obedient to Him, right? To fear Him, to keep all the laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 5, "Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God."
God. Casting down imaginations. An imagination is things like Christmas or Valentine's or Easter. Right? You celebrate Christmas, there's no fat white man in a red suit that's climbing down a chimney. Right? These are things in your imagination. And this is our warfare. These are the lies that we have to destroy. Right? We got to go out and teach Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that bunnies don't lay eggs. That Easter has nothing to do with serving the Most High. Right? These are the imaginations that we have to cast down. And everything that exalted itself against the Most High. Right? And these things that exalt themselves against the Most High are things like homosexuality, or these feminist movements saying, it's my body, it's okay to kill a baby. Right? Thinking that men and women are equal. Right? These are things that exalt themselves against the Most High. You understand? Keep reading.
And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
Khan. And this is why, if you're a disciple of Christ, this is why Christ said to love the Most High in everything. Love the Most High with all your heart, mind, and soul. Because we have to put the Most High in everything. Right? We have to bring everything to the obedience of Christ. Meaning doing everything that the Most High says. Right? Let's jump to 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 18.
1 Timothy chapter 1. 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 10, and reads,
Salakia, verse 18.
Salakia, verse 18, and it reads, This charge I commit unto thee, son of Timothy, according to the prophecies which went before on thee, that thou by them mightiest war a good warfare.
Khan. This charge I commit unto thee. Meaning, Paul is telling Timothy here, Paul is giving Timothy an order, right? Paul is saying, I charge you, I order you, I command you.
Mhm.
You understand? Paul is giving Timothy an order, right?
Plus,
And he's telling Timothy, who's one of his high-ranking soldiers, what God is about. Let's read that again.
huh? This charge I commit unto thee, son of Timothy, according to the prophecies which went before on thee, that thou by them mightiest war a good warfare.
Khan. This is what Timothy was ordered to do under Paul, who was under Christ, who was under the Most High. You understand? He was ordered to go to war. And this is what the Most High is all about.
If I could,
Khan, go ahead.
no, this like where you bring it, it's very heavy. I mean, I never thought of it like that. Like when it reads it like a charge, it's most definitely a commandment, right?
Damn right.
Commandment, and another word that comes to mind too is like a commission. You get my point? A commission. I trust the commission that you this is a must. Salaka, that's all I want. You know.
Damn right.
Yeah.
And, we see when we, just to add to what you're saying, is what we see in the New Testament, a lot of these words, there's not a Hebrew word for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you see apostle in the New Testament, you're not going to see apostle in the Old Testament.
Right.
Right? But that doesn't mean that the Old Testament and the New Testament isn't talking about the same thing. The New Testament was just written in a different language.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see a word like steward, King James was a steward.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning a steward is someone who's given charge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you to look at that today, King James was the camp leader.
Khan. He was in charge. Salaka.
Khan, go ahead.
No, Salaka. Yeah, like you were saying, but he was a camp leader. Like he was in charge. You know, there goes that word again, in charge. You know what I mean?
That's right.
He was the guy. He was the commissioner, if I could. Right? Makes sense.
Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Khan, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Most High, when you're reading this book, if you're being taught something that doesn't have to do with militancy, rank, order, structure,
Forget it.
you're not reading the Bible.
That's right, man.
Right? This whole book is about militancy, discipline, order, rank. You understand? Let's jump to 2 Timothy 2 and verse 2.
2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 2. And it reads, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also.
All right. So Paul's telling Timothy here, the same thing that you've heard of me is the same thing you got to commit to faithful men. The same thing you got to order to faithful men. Meaning everything that Paul did, you guys are supposed to do. You understand? And if you follow what Paul did, you're following what Christ did. And you follow what Christ did, you're following what the Most High requires of you. And that's how you're able to teach other brothers and sisters. When you do what the Most High says, when you do what Christ says, you become his disciple. You become his student. And in doing what he says, you're able to teach others. Right? Khan, go ahead, Ak.
Khan, and it just comes to mind again, if I could, right? What you're bringing out, these precepts. These are commandments. These are charges too. Again, like these are a must that we must do, right? And it just comes to mind when it says, and these things that thou hast heard of me among the witnesses, the same commit. That's like you're in charge. You know what I mean? That's a commission that you must do that to these faithful men, right? And teach them accordingly, right? To others. That's the I believe that's Paul giving the order again.
Khan, absolutely.
Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy you bringing up. Heavy precept on sign press.
Khan.
So like it.
Paul is commanding us to do what he did. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hear brothers in the I.S.U.P.K says, if I say the same words that the men above me say, I've done my job.
Yeah.
Right? We're to do everything that the men above us do. We're to say everything that the men above us say. Right? And this is what Paul was telling Timothy here. Right? And you think about this too, even with some of these fake Israelite camps, it's like the men above us taught us to do our 90 days and to wear all black. Right? The men above us taught us to wear that glorious warlike apparel. You understand? When did it switch to wearing purple t-shirts and putting fringes at the bottom of our t-shirts? Right? Where do you find that in the Bible? We're to do what the men above us tell us to do. We're to teach what they taught us. All right? So keep reading. Let's jump to verse 3.
Verse 3, and it reads, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahawashah Mashiach, of Jesus Christ.
Therefore endure hardness. Right? That means be tough. Right? Be tough as a good soldier. Right? A Christian will tell us something like, God didn't tell us to be mean. Right? God didn't tell us to be angry when we're out on the street teaching.
I'll be right back.
God didn't tell us to be so rough looking when we preach the gospel. But Paul said, be a good soldier. Right? And this is one of the ways that we know the Old Testament is no different from the New. Right? Like what Paul did, Paul was a captain. Right? Paul was a captain who followed order. Paul went around setting up churches in different places of the world. You understand? Just like we do in the I.S.U.P.K today. Right? We got captains over New York. We got captains over Delaware. We got captains over North Carolina. Captains over Naptown. Right? And this is what Paul told us to do. Be good soldiers.
Right?
Be tough as a good soldier of Yahawashi. Right? Let's keep reading. Verse 4.
Verse 4, and reads, No man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier.
Right. And no man that goes to war entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. Right? We're at war. We can't be worried about chasing money. Right? We can't be worried about what's going on at our jobs. We can't be worried about chasing a pension or a retirement fund. Right? Those are the affairs of this world. You understand? Paul understood that this is a time of war. Right now, the children of Israel, we need to be at war. Right? We got to stay focused. And if we do that, we would please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. You understand? The Most High, he chose us to be soldiers. You understand? He didn't choose us to play a tambourine for a church. He didn't choose us to write gospel music and sing and cry and dance. He chose us to be soldiers.
That's right.
Right? Right? We got to understand, God is a God of war. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 5. Verse 5. And it reads, And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not coward?
Read that again.
Salakia. Let me read that again. Verse 5. And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully.
Come. Right? We got to strive to be the best we can be. Right? We got to strive to be the best at what we're doing. We got to strive to be the best soldiers we can be. Right? And if we do that, we will be crowned for being good soldiers. All right, let's drop that and grab Ephesians 6 and verse 12.
This is the book of Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. And it reads, For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of this darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Come. Let's break this down line by line. Can you read that again? We'll go slow.
Right. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
Come. Our fight isn't carnal. Right? We're not wrestling against flesh and blood. And you got to understand, just like Officer 50-Year-Odd said, we are not Christian. You understand? We will defend ourselves if necessary.
Right.
Right? And if you go to war with us, it's probably not going to go well for you.
That's right.
But this war that we're fighting, it's not about flesh. You understand? It's not a carnal war that we're in right now. Right? Keep reading.
Right. but against principalities.
God. Principality is something like the oppressor saying homosexuality is lawful. Right? That's a principality.
Right.
Right? We war against that spirit.
Right.
We war against the spirit that our oppressor is trying to teach our people.
That's right.
Keep reading.
God, huh? Against powers.
Right. Powers are that Christian church is a power.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a powerful spirit in Christianity that works for the devil himself. That
Right.
works for the devil and his angels. That works for all these Europeans. Right? Christianity is a power that we have to destroy. Christianity is a power we have to go to war against. Right? Keep reading.
So, like, Khan, if I could,
Go on, go ahead.
Christianity is a damn oppressor. It's full of oppressors. If you belong to a Christian religion, Christianity, which comes from Christianity, they don't follow Christ, man. You're an antichrist, and you follow, and you're part of the problem, and you're a damn. You need to come out of that, man. And Christianity is the oppressor. It has killed more people and has killed our people and has put us in this oppression. We in the UPK, right? We're not oppressed. We're just here simply to tell you the truth, man. I know it's a bitter pill to swallow, but I bet you if you come to school and you start listening to these classes, what this officer are bringing out and what all the officers, captains, and everybody in this school, man, you will realize, you will wake up that we're doing you a favor, man, for not to be oppressed. We're not oppressed in this school. We used to be, right? We used to be oppressed, man, because the Bible says it's my people perish because of lack of knowledge, and you're perishing, your spirit's perishing. You only feel good for that one Sunday you go to church. The rest of the week, you're probably in hell. You stay in your knees asking for forgiveness because all they do is teach you how to sin. You think that everything that you're doing is righteous according to your religion. It's not. God is militant, man. Christ is militant, and He's not looking for cowards for you to be on your knees and asking for forgiveness every day, man.
Damn right.
Right? Salakia.
Damn right. And brothers and sisters got to listen to what the priests are bringing out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you said, that might be a hard pill for some people to swallow, but if you truly love the Most High, you would do what He says. And you read this book, you'll find out that the Christian church does not teach to do what He says. Right? We got to tear down the Christian church. This is something we got to go to war with.
God.
Because it has oppressed so many of our people.
That's the power we're against.
Damn right. Damn right. Let's keep reading.
Verse 12 in the middle, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, and Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 in the middle. Against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
Right. The rulers of darkness of this world is, if you're a ruler in America, North and South Central America, you're a ruler of darkness. Right? That's a person like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson. If you have a high place in this kingdom, you are a ruler of darkness. Right? Keep reading.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Right. And spiritual wickedness is what all Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians look to solve their problems. Right? We look to our spiritual leaders. We look to our Christian pastors. right? These are the people we look to solve the issues going on in our community, right? Those are the spiritual wickedness in high places, right? Keep reading.
Verse 13. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God.
Right. The reason you need armor is because you're a soldier.
Right.
Understand? The reason you need armor is because you're at war.
Right.
Right? Soldiers need armor. And these scriptures is our armor.
That's right.
Right? Keep reading.
That ye may be able to withstand in the evil day.
Read.
And having done all, to stand.
Right. And these scriptures are our armor. And that armor will help us to stand in that evil day. Right? There are so many evil days. Every day is an evil day in this place. Right?
Yes,
Every
sir.
day you're going to have to battle a family member, battle your wife, battle somebody on the job. You understand? About all the wickedness going on. And all this wickedness that we're battling, a lot of times this is just a temptation. This is a test. Right? This is a test to see if you're going to win that war, win that battle. It's a test to see if you're going to come out on top. You understand? Because life is about war. The Most High is about war. And when those days of evil come, you got to have that breastplate of armor. You have to have something to defend yourself. You have to have an answer for everything that somebody comes to you with. Yeah. Keep reading.
Verse 14. Stand, therefore.
Read that again.
Stand, therefore.
One more time.
Stand, therefore.
Hold your goddamn post.
That's right.
Right?
Damn right.
Hold your post until somebody tells you to stand down. Right? We're at war. Right? This isn't a time to smile and laugh and play. This is a time of war.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Khan, go ahead.
I'm just agreeing, Axelakia. You're exactly right what you're saying. It's not time to laugh or be playing. I just said exactly. That's
Khan.
right. I'm right.
Damn right. Stand there for. Hold your post. Right? Keep reading.
Kana, having your loins girt about with the truth. Having your loins girt about with the truth.
Read.
And having on the breastplate of righteousness.
Right. We can't be out there telling people to stop doing drugs when we're taking drugs ourselves. Right? We can't tell people to stop eating pork if we're eating pork. We can't tell people to stop being Christians if we're Christian. Right? Because when we stop doing these things and we hold ourselves to a certain standard, then nobody can say back to us what we personally aren't doing. You understand? Nobody can tell Officer Yarad, well, how come you're celebrating Christmas? Right? How come you're selling drugs? How come you're out there stealing? Nobody can say that to Officer Yarad because he has the breastplate of righteousness. He's not a hypocrite, right? Nobody can stab Officer Yarad in his heart and tear him down and break him down and tell him he's not doing something. Because that's a righteous brother. You understand? Keep reading.
That's what. Verse 15, and it reads, and your feet should with the preparation of the gospel of peace.
Right. And this is something to some of these fake Israelite groups. You understand? Who they'll watch 5 YouTube videos, go out on the street and start teaching. You understand? We are supposed to prepare. We're supposed to prepare for war like good soldiers. You understand? And you prepare yourself by going to class. Right? Like we say in our videos, we put in I.S.U.P.K videos, we are professionals. Don't try this at home. We are trained professionals. We prepare ourselves. We study hours upon hours. We take notes. We ask questions. We get corrected. We prepare ourselves for war. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 16, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
And we take the shield of faith, right? We take that shield of faith because we know the oppressors going into slavery. We know the people that we're at war against are going to be ruled with the rod of iron. We know that our rulership's coming. That destruction and plagues and famine is coming to their kingdom. Right? We have that shield of faith. Let's jump to Psalms chapter 144 and verse 1.
Psalms 144 and verse 1. And it reads, this is what it reads. Blessed be the Lord, my strength, which teacheth my hands to war, and my fingers to fight.
God. We know how to fight because of God. We know how to fight because of the Most High. You understand? We know how to defend ourselves. Like I said earlier, we're not Christians. You understand? Don't mess with us when we're out at camp teaching this truth.
That's right.
Right? The Most High teaches us how to war. The Most High teaches us how to defend ourselves. Right? And this fight, this war isn't a carnal war, it's a spiritual war. But don't think that the Most High doesn't teach us how to protect ourselves. Right? Let's jump to Exodus 23 and verse 22.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 22.
Salakia, verse 2.
Salakia.
Salakia, verse 22.
Okay. I like it. No sweat. Exodus chapter 23 and verse 22. And it reads, "But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, and an adversary, Salakia, an adversary unto thy adversaries."
God. If God is all love and God is all about integration, joining together hand in hand with every nation known on earth, why is the Most High talking about being an enemy to our enemies? Why is the Most High talking about being people's enemies? Understand? You read the Bible to find out what God is about. You don't listen to a Christian. Right? Let's jump to Ecclesiasticus chapter 42 and verse 24. Right? Quick shout out to the chat. Shalom, Officer Zabadia. Yabba Shem Yashar Barakatha. Thwada for tuning in. Chase that pension and stocks. Slaki, he said, chase that pension and stocks and the oppressor will steal it. Damn right. Damn right. You know what I mean? And that is one of the many reasons. Salaki, I'd say that's one of the small reasons I hate this place. Understand? That's a small reason why I hate these oppressors. You understand? Because they've taken my pension. Right? They took me without warning me. And they'll do that. They've done that to so many brothers and sisters. You understand? Because we're just trying to get by, just trying to pay our bills. Maybe you miss a letter that comes in on the mail or through the mail or something. You understand? They're quick to freeze your bank accounts. They're quick to take your money. Right? You get caught up in that child support, they will take everything that you have. All right?
That's right. That's
right. So okay, let's go to, we're in Ecclesiasticus chapter 42 and verse 24.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 42 and verse 24. It reads, all things are double. It's like 42 and 24, you mentioned?
Salakia, chapter 42 and verse 24.
Okay, I got you. Ecclesiasticus chapter 42 and verse 24. All things are double one against another.
Read that again.
And he has, God, all things are double one against another.
God, everything that the Most High has created has something that is against it. You understand? Everything that he created, there's double. Right? Every cell phone company has another cell phone company going to war with it. You understand? Every internet company has another internet company fighting for stocks or fighting for market share. You understand? You got somebody selling chicken in a grocery store. There's another company trying to sell the same product, saying their chicken's better. You understand? Everything in creation has something that's double.
And Salakia, sir. Salakia.
Khan, go ahead.
And for those who like the product, the whole all that Gucci and all that, it's like that's your God, and then you got the Chinese, you got the Chinese making a double of it, making the replica of it. Good night.
Right.
About it.
So Salakia.
God,
Yeah, I mean,
what a waste.
I mean, if you're not on top of your social game and you know what I mean, you're walking downtown New York, that's a quick way to get hustled.
Yeah.
That's a quick way to buy some fake jacket, some fake Gucci product. You understand?
Oh,
everything on earth has double.
only because you want to be some type of guy.
God, God, Salakia, that's a good point. You understand? But that's how creation was made, right? Like you got dogs fighting against a cat fights against a mouse. You got dogs fighting against dogs, people fighting against people, right? In the Bible, in the scriptures, we see you got Jacob fighting against Esau.
Mm.
You understand? And these things war against each other. You understand? Keep reading.
Okay, come. And he had made nothing imperfect.
Con. And not only do these things war against each other, all of these things are made perfect.
Come.
You understand? We were all created the way that the Most High wanted us to be. He created the nation of Israel to be who they are, and they are perfect. He created the nation of Esau to be who they were, and he created them to be perfect. Or that creation that he made was perfect. You understand? And these two nations of people war against each other. Right? So like the officers of Badia says, lay not up yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. You understand? Christ told us to lay up our treasures in heaven. Right? Christ said to be focused on things that are important. Right? Job said we entered into this world naked, and naked will we leave. You understand? But there's something more important to us. There's
Right.
rulership coming. There's a kingdom for the nation of Israel to rule this earth over. You understand? And that's where we got to have our treasure. That's where we got to put our focus and our energy in. Serving Christ, serving the Most High. Right? And so we got to understand that this life is about war. Right? The Most High is about war.
Right.
And everything he created is at war with each other. Right? Keep reading.
Come. Verse 25, and it reads, one thing establish the good of another, and who shall be filled with beholding his glory?
Khan. One thing established the good of another. How do you know you're a good fighter? You understand? You know you're a good fighter by getting in that ring. You know you're a good fighter because you defeated your opponent. You understand? That's how you establish the good of another. Everything that the Most High created has a double, has a mortal enemy, has an arch rival. And these things that go against each other, you'll be able to tell who's the good fighter. You'll be able to tell who's the better man or the better victor, by who wins. Understand? And that's how the Most High created his creation. Let's jump to Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 5.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 5. Okay. Chapter 10, Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 5. And reads, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an heir which proceeded from the ruler.
Come on, keep reading.
Verse 6. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. Salakia. And the rich sit, yes, in low place.
Come on. So King Solomon here, he's saying that he sees something happening.
Mm-hmm.
King Solomon was seeing something that would befall the children of Israel in a later time. Right? He saw the rich. He saw people who were meant for greatness sitting in a low place. Keep reading.
Verse 7. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth.
Right. King Solomon saw people who were meant for rulership. He saw these people who were meant for rulership as servants. You understand? He saw princes, people who were meant to rule, walking as servants upon the earth. You understand? When he saw servants upon horses, horses meaning like a high place. Right? Today you would think of something like, if a car has a lot of horsepower, it means it's a better car. Right? A horse is known as something great or high. When King Solomon saw servants on these horses, he saw people in a high place who weren't meant to be there. And what he was seeing was the nation of Israel losing the war. What he saw was Jacob and Esau, who have been fighting since the womb. He saw the youngest son on the bottom. The prophecy said the elder shall serve the younger. You understand? Esau is supposed to be a servant. The nation of Israel is supposed to win this war. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are supposed to win this fight. You understand? And we got to come back to what the Most High requires of us so that we can win this battle as good soldiers. Right? Let's jump to 1 Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 18.
It's the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 18. 1 Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 18, and it reads, the sons of Reuben and the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men, valiant men.
Of what?
Valiant men.
Valiant men meaning courageous men. Keep reading.
Men able to bear buckler and sword. and to shoot with bow, Salakia, and skillful in war.
And what?
And skillful in war.
Join the I.S.U.P.K so you can learn to be skillful in war. You understand? This is what Commanding General YAHANNA is raising brothers up to be.
That's right.
Men who are skillful at war.
That's right.
You understand? The Christian church has taught us to be so docile. You understand? To integrate with our oppressors, to serve our oppressor. You understand? But the Most High is a God of war. He wants us defeating our enemies. He wants us on the top. He doesn't want us on the bottom. You understand? And we need to be courageous men who are skillful at war. Let's jump to Song of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 7. I know I'm over the time. I'm just going to run through a couple of scriptures, and then we'll end the class. So let's go to the Song of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 7.
This is the book of Songs of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 7. And it reads, Behold, his bed, which is Solomon's. 80 valiant men are about it, of the valiant of Israel.
God. Solomon had courageous bodyguards around his bed. You understand? That all held swords, that were experts in war. Right? These weren't some beardless men in suit and ties holding tambourines in a Christian church. You understand? These were courageous men, valiant men, skillful in war. Right? Let's jump to Judges chapter 3 and verse 2. Because this is what we got to come back to. Right? Scriptures say, remember the days of old. Consider the ways of many generations. Ask your fathers. Right? Read the records of what your ancestors were doing, of how they conducted themselves. Right? What type of men and women they were. Go ahead and read that when you got it.
Judges chapter 3 and verse 2. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof.
God. Not only do our men got to know war, but we got to teach war to our kids. You understand? The Most High is a God of war. He is all about war. You understand? Paul told us to stand your post. Hold your post until you're told to stand down. Be a good soldier for Christ. And we got to teach our kids to do the same thing. You understand? This doesn't mean go teach your kids to go beat up other kids in school. But teach your kids to defend themselves. You understand? Teach your kids when there's a time of war, when there's a time of battle, it's good. It's righteous to stand up for yourself. It's righteous to stand up for your nation. You understand? And this is what we got to do. Let's jump to 2 Samuel chapter 23 and verse 9.
2 Samuel chapter 23 and verse 9. And it reads, and after him was Eleazar.
Salakia, Eleazar.
Salakia, say it again.
Eleazar.
And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dado, the Ahotite.
Yeah.
one of the three mighty men was David. When they defied Salakia, when they defied the Philistines that were there gathered together to battle, and the men of Israel were gone away. Verse 10.
These were King David's men, right? These were King David's mighty men.
Right.
You understand? And they defied the Philistines. They defied the Africans. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 10. He arose and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand clave unto the sword. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day. And the people returned after him only to spoil.
God. These mighty men, they held those swords until their hands were weary. Right. They held those swords in their hands until their hands got tired. And at the end of it, their hands cramped up. Their hands cramped and held on to that sword.
Yeah.
You understand? These were the mighty men that fought for King David.
Right.
Understand? These are our ancestors. Right? Salakia, it's probably one of Officers Obadiah's favorite verses. Don't drop your sword. Hold on to your sword. You understand? That's the kind of spirit that the men of Israel have to have. Like Paul said, hold your post. Stand your ground. Hold on to your sword. Don't drop it till this war is won.
That's right.
You understand? That's the kind of spirit we got to be moving in. Let's jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 20. And it reads, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabseel, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab.
He slew what?
He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab.
This mighty man took on 2 warriors. You understand? 2 giants, 2 beasts. You understand? And he slew them. He killed them. He overcame. He won that battle. You understand? Keep reading.
He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in time of snow.
And after he got done taking on those warriors, taking on those giants, he was in the snow and he took out a lion. You understand? You're not going to find that kind of masculinity in a Christian church. You understand? Nobody's going to go and kill a lion. Nobody's going to wield a sword and go to war for their nation. You understand? You're not going to find a real man of God in the Christian church. Right? And so, Salaki, with that, I'm over time. I got a couple verses, but because I'm over time, I'll just end the class there. So, with that, I bring out these scriptures to say the Lord is a man of war. You understand? Yahweh is his name. And Christ commands us to be good soldiers. You understand? He commands us to gird our loins and go to battle. You understand? To overcome sin. And we do that by going through God, by putting the Most High first in everything that we do. You understand? And loving your neighbor like yourself. We got to overcome sin, overcome temptation. We got to go to war with ourselves. Right? And so with that, I'm going to end the class. Let's clap it up.
Damn right.
So we're going to do the I.S.U.P.K security announcements, and then we're going to salute out. All right. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21 in Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashra means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of any penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests is not mandatory, but whatsoever amount you would like to give, please give. Upcoming holy convocations. On June 21st, we got the Feast of First Fruits coming up. If you're in Canada, you can contact Officer 500 Zabadia, or you can contact your camp leader. In Canada, that's Officer of 5,000 Aban. And with that, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M, which means stand. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M Shabbat. I.M.A.J.M, Barak, Yah Bashem Yahashua. To all the brothers, Yad Yamata, which means hands down. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M Shabbat. I.M.A.J.M, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Alatha Bashem Yahashai. Yad Yamata. Class dismissed.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Also encouraged.